Hey, how's it going? How's it going? How's it going? Some more. It's Politics with Laura here. Okay. Birthright citizen is is at the Supreme Court. They're hearing arguments. And I gotta say, the arguments are quite interesting coming from both sides. And they're taking the Constitution and they're like, okay, it means this, it means that. They're saying everything but what's on the paper. That's just my point of view. But however,
Because I thought we were supposed to conserve it.
all right, okay. Now this is a hot topic: birthright citizenship. And I have to say, this decision is going to most definitely disrupt people's lives. Whether if the Supreme Court, leans towards people that come here illegally and have babies and have anchor babies, and they will become legal citizens within the United States and getting all the privileges when their parents have no legal or are not legal here at all. Or on the other side of it, to where people were already here, and as they go to the letter of the Constitution. Now, before I go any further, let's just take a look, just a simple look at what the Constitution states. Let's do that. Let's see, is this it? All right. Well, let me show you this real quick, because this is right here is the 14th Amendment, as you can see right here, right? Now, this is what they're fighting over. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof, and we got to go through the word jurisdiction, are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or the immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person life, liberty, or property without due process of law, or deny any person within a jurisdiction the equal protection under the law. Now, this is where many of the arguments that are made for the defense of people that have babies here illegally. So they're using this part right here. They're ignoring all persons born or naturalized. I find that quite interesting. Very interesting. Let me see. Is this working? Okay, wait a minute. Let me see. Is this working? Okay, it's working. All right. So, they're looking at that part just right there. And they're using other legal precedents to be able to sway the Supreme Court. Hey, now here's the sticky part. The Supreme Court has to go to the letter of the Constitution. And the lawyers are like, well, let me give you one that really got me. I was like, whoa, this right here is powerful. One of the lawyers that are standing with the letter of the Constitution. And I thought that was an interesting take. I can't remember which lawyer it was. He has a real rusky voice. He sounds a little bit like JFK. But he said, JFK Jr., he said, when people leave, and these are my words, as I interpret it, he says, when people leave their homeland and they come here illegally, or they have a permanent residence, they're still under the jurisdiction of the land in which they left. So if they have a war, let's say for an example, and they're like, hey, you got to come back over here. We need you. That's my interpretations of it, right? And they're still under the jurisdiction of the land that they left. They're still citizens, sovereign, not sovereign citizens, but they're still citizens of that country until they renounced. Now, they never renounced their sovereignty of that country. They just left. They never said, I don't want anything else to do with this country. Nothing else. Now, the only people that I know that do that are Americans. Americans will go ahead and say, look, I'm sick and tired of you, only you, just you. Right? And I'm going to renounce this citizenship. I don't know where I'm going to go, but I know one thing, it's not going to be here. And then they denounce their citizenship and then go someplace else. Now, many people don't do that. They want to hold on to their citizenship, right? Still have their hand on that flag while going someplace else to the United States, saying, I want to be a part here. So they have two hands, right? They're leaning more towards the United States, but still holding on here for, whatever reason, they're not there. So he made that argument, but they're still under the jurisdiction of the country that they left. That means that they still hold on to that, and you can't serve two masters. You cannot be a citizen of two different countries. It has to be one and only one. I thought that was interesting. I'm like, okay. So they're saying, hey, well, my child, even though I still have some legal hurdles to jump over, my child still should get all the rights and privileges, even though my husband and I, or my boyfriend and I, or whatever the situation is not legal, because we're not naturalized citizens, and we might hold a green card, or we may be totally illegal. Now, another point that was made that I thought that was quite interesting, it was more of the defense of it. And they're saying, hey, we're using this clause right here. Where'd I put it? Uh-oh. Okay. I didn't mean to do that. This clause right here. Where is it? They're saying, shall the United States deprive any person of life, liberty, and property? They're like, look, they're here. They have life, liberty, and property, and the baby is born here. Now, the baby may not be naturalized, but still, right here, they are afforded due process. And you cannot nor deny any person within a jurisdiction equal protection of the law. No, you can't do that. You gotta you excuse me, you have to accept this child, even though the parents do not fit any of the qualifications that the Constitution says. Overlook that. But just right here, you can't deny any person under the jurisdiction of the law. Now, you gotta just stop and think. Excuse me. What does jurisdiction mean? Now, this right here is legal terms, so, people are like, well, wait a minute. Okay, here it is. Okay, let me do this right here. These two things. Let me bring this down. Oh, goodness. All right. Okay, right here. I'm just going to do a quick one, and then it says right here, jurisdiction is a legal authority, power, or the right of the court or government entity to hear, decide, or enforce laws over the particular case, person, or geographical area. Okay. Now, if you are from another country, The United States does not have jurisdiction over you. Zero, none, zilch, nada, arrivederci, right? There isn't any. And here, jurisdiction is a legal concept that determines which court can hear or decide a case. Now, if people that were here illegally having children, or people come here just to have a baby, get the citizenship, then leave and come back at a later date to where the child can have the mother, father, brother, whatever it is to bring them over. I mean, I've seen some wild stuff, some real wild stuff that people do. Okay, so that's just one part of it. And I do have a quick video. I do. So right there's the jurisdiction. Do I want? Okay. Let me get rid of that. Let me bring this up right right here. Okay. Now, the jurisdiction just means the power of the court to adjudicate cases and issue of order. Territory within a court or government agency may properly exercise its power. And here, Rugas age, okay, whatever it is. But one of the most fundamental questions of law is whether a given case has jurisdiction or precedence over a given case. Jurisdiction question may be broken into three components, and then it goes into personam, jurisdiction, in renum, jurisdiction, and okay, all right. I'm going a little bit beyond my $5.50 worth of legalese, okay? $5.50 worth. So, so within all of this, they're really pushing hard. And I just see there's a lot of tension in the air, a lot of tension. And one of the lawyers that came out talked about her parents or her ancestors, and I think she's a second generation immigrant. So she's like, wait a minute, this affects my people. This affects everyone here who came here at a particular point in time, and whether if they had whether if they were oh my goodness, whether they came here illegal or not. And then you got the Ellis Island people. I mean, it's going to get really, really deep, really deep. Because the Ellis Island people goes from the late 1800s into the to like the 1930s, 40s. Okay. Now, the 14th Amendment only deals specifically, try to say that 3 times fast, specifically with descendant of slaves. Okay? Then a couple of other things came in with it, but it was a protection that the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments that only pertain to descendant of slaves. They're not bringing that up at all. They won't touch that with a bag of bricks. No side is, touching that, which makes me look like, okay, I see both sides. Both sides either come from Ellis Island or come from somebody that came here illegally or had a green card and had children. Okay, that's only the one, one of Ellis Island or that. Now, it even goes into diplomats, and diplomats like you can't have children here. You just can't do it. No. Okay. But namely, it's for descendant of slaves, because slaves were considered property and did not have any rights at all until when it came time to voting. Then all of a sudden, the freed slaves were like, okay, well, we need your help one way or the other. We need your help. We need A, B, and C, and we need you to vote. That's how they came about. But, yeah. So, let me get rid of this. So let's go ahead and take a listen to this, because this right here is a Supreme Court hearing, and you're going to hear some interest. Is this it? Yeah, right here. So just take a listen.
President Trump's executive order ending birthright citizenship constitutional. President Trump made history, becoming the first sitting U.S. president to be present for those oral arguments at the U.S. Supreme Court. You see his vehicle right there. Now, he's back at the White House as of this hour, but he attacked the court ahead of
In case if you don't know, right there's Independence Avenue. Quite interesting.
today's hearing. He criticized its ruling against his tariff policies. He also says his birthright executive order would stop what he calls the sale of U.S. citizenship around the world. Ultimately, the fate of that order rests with those justices. So here's some of what the attorney arguing against the president had to say after court. Listen.
Okay, before we even get into this, let me say this real quick because I thought this was interesting. Now, my mother has, she has AIDS. People that help her, just so we get that straightened out. People that help her. And majority, actually all of them are from Africa. So her one aide that comes from Cameroon, you know, he listens to me do my content, and it's like, he does. And look, I get why he feels the way he feels. So we get into birthright citizenship, and then he starts jumping all over the place. And his thing is this: he's from Cameroon, and he has nothing nice to say about the United States. I'm like, well, if you feel that way about the United States, why are you here? You think China's the best? Okay, fine. Why aren't you in China? Because there are Africans, West Africans, that live in China. He didn't answer it, but then I just simply asked him, I said, okay. Because you're projecting a whole lot. What is it that you want from the United States? And he's like, well, he starts smiling. He said, I'm glad you asked me that. He said, I want an education. I want a good life. And I want Americans to stop calling third world countries S-hole countries. So wait a minute. Time out. I talk to a lot of immigrants from other countries, and you all say the same thing. My country's corrupt. My people are corrupt. I don't want to be, I don't want to be there, but I don't have the opportunities there that I do here. And I'm like, you have nothing nice to say about your country. So this is coming out of your mouth. You all are saying this. So when you express these things, whatever problems you may have in your country, you don't say anything positive at all. So when we look at how you act and what you say, and when President Trump said you come from an S-hole country, why are you upset? You're the one who's saying it. You're telling us it. We're just reiterating what you're saying, and then you get offended. Gave him something to think about. But let's go back to what is it called? This right here. So she's getting ready to talk.
I come out of the court today with the thought of my parents and so many of our parents and ancestors who came to this country seeking refuge, seeking new opportunities, and who relied on the rule that we've had in this country for 150 years.
Did you hear that twist? Let me go back over it. Let's go back a little bit. Just a little bit.
The president
I went too
had
far.
to say after court. Listen.
I come out of the court today with the thought of my parents and so many of our parents and ancestors who came to this country seeking refuge, seeking new opportunities, and who relied on the rule that we've had in this country for 150 years.
That's not the rule that was the rule of the United States. I just showed you what it was. It was either you were a citizen, you were born here, or a naturalized citizen. That was it. That was it. Now, she's talking about her ancestors. Now, and better opportunities. She never said anything about her ancestors being legal or here naturalized citizens. Now, naturalized citizens don't have to worry about this right here. But people who adjust themselves and then come here at the whim have a lot to be concerned with. But let her continue.
That everyone born here is a United States citizen, all alike. And I'm confident that the court is going to turn back.
Nope, I just told you what jurisdiction was. And I gave you an example of what one of the not her, but another lawyer who's arguing at the Supreme Court level. Just let her finish.
This president's effort to radically rewrite our 14th Amendment rule of birthright citizenship.
So let's talk to somebody who keeps me grounded and smart. CBS News chief legal correspondent Jan Crawford joining us outside the Supreme Court. Okay, so you were there, you heard those oral arguments. First, take us through what you heard in a general sense, Jan.
Well, in the most general sense, Reed, I think we can all pretty much safely say that President Trump is going to lose another case in the Supreme Court. You mentioned he lost the tariffs case. He's not going to win this case either. These justices, through their questions, through their demeanor, they clearly indicated today that they do not believe that President Trump can redefine what it means to be a citizen in this country by the sign of a pen with an executive order. That long-held understanding that if you're born on U.S. soil, you're a U.S. citizen. They do not believe that President Trump can just come in and say,
all right, well, let her finish.
Unless, of course, your parents are here illegally. The questions were pretty clear from the
No. Now, okay, wait a minute. President Trump came out and he said that the 14th Amendment had everything with the children of the slaves, descendants of the slaves. Not people coming here, people not coming here to seek a better life. That was not what it was about. Zero. It had nothing to do with people getting on a boat, a plane, a train, however they get here, and to either come here illegally or have like some sort of like green card or whatever, and then having children. That's not what it was for at all. And they're taking it and switching it. President Trump was quite clear in what he said. But let her finish while I look for the other one. Let her finish.
Get-go, the Chief Justice, starting right off the bat, expressing pretty sharp skepticism when Trump's lawyer got up to make the case on his behalf. Of course, as you said, the president was there in that courtroom. I mean, he came in about 10 minutes till 10. Took his seat in the very front row of the public section. No special seat for the president. And that's where like cabinet officials typically sit. And he stayed throughout the first half of the argument, heard his attorney, the Solicitor General, arguing on his behalf. And then I'd say about 7 minutes after that, he very quietly got up and left. And there was absolutely no change in the justices and their demeanor and their questions. You would have no idea the president was in that courtroom today from the beginning till when he left, till after the argument. You have no idea if we hadn't got a heads up about it. And so we, of course, were watching to see when he came in the courtroom.
So when is the decision expected to be announced, Jan?
Well, you know, on these big cases, and this one's argued pretty late in the term. I mean, it's, believe it or not, April, which I can't, spring already. So this case, I would not expect to get before the very end of June. Those cases, these big, weighty constitutional questions that sometimes divide the justices, take longer for them to write, and already we're kind of toward the end anyway. So the justices like to wrap up all their opinions, and they've got some big ones this term, Reed. They like to wrap those up by the end of June. That's when their session typically ends. I would expect this one they'll be able to do pretty quickly. I would think that this is going to be a case, again, that the...
Okay. So that's one part. Let me bring in the other. Let's see, where's it at? Uh-oh. Okay. All right. Let's hear what he has to
The
say.
Supreme Court tomorrow is going to hear arguments about your executive order trying to get rid of birthright citizenship.
And I'm going.
You're going to go to the Supreme
I
Court
think so.
tomorrow?
I do
And
believe
just sit there and listen.
because I have listened to this argument for so long, and this is not about Chinese billionaires or billionaires from other countries who all of a sudden have 75 children or 59 children in one case or 10 children becoming American citizens. This was about slaves. And if you take a look, slaves, we're talking about slaves from the Civil War.
Let's go back.
And if you take a look, American citizens, this was about slaves. And if you take a look, slaves, we're talking about slaves from the Civil War. And if you take a look at when it was filed, all of this legislation, all of this, everything having to do with birthright citizenship, it was at the end of the Civil War. The reason was it had to do with the babies of slaves and the protection of the babies of slaves. It didn't have to do with the protection of multi-millionaires and billionaires wanting to have their children get an American citizenship. It is the craziest thing I've ever seen. It's been so badly handled by legal people over the years. Our country is being scammed. We're getting all of these people. They're selling the rights to them. People are making a living, a big living, getting hundreds of thousands and even millions of dollars from bringing people in and saying, congratulations, your whole family is going to be a citizen of the United States of America.
Now, that's exactly what he said. He said it. I remember him saying that. He said it a couple of different times. He said it he said it a couple of different times. So, again, birthright citizenship has nothing to do with anyone who came here. Had nothing to do with anyone who came here through Ellis Island, anyone who came here and ran across the border. Didn't have anything to do with anybody coming here that's holding a green card. Okay? You have to be a naturalized citizen, period. That's it. However, they're muddying the water, as people do, muddying the water, and not even looking at what the 14th Amendment was intended for, and that was for the children of slaves. So, you heard him say it, and you heard the lawyer who talked about her ancestors and what it means, and then you see people out there in the middle of the street fighting for birthright citizenship, and they're not even doing it properly, even when I showed you what it was meant for in the Constitution. Quite interesting, very interesting. So, it's going to be interesting to see how this pans out. Now, the Constitution is quite clear. And President Trump's executive order may find some issues, but however, it doesn't negate the fact that his birthright citizen executive order was aligned with the Constitution and how it was supposed to be attended. But you may disagree. On that note,